know he's the shove-it
man! Alright, it's the Smack Talker back with another banger. But let's be honest, this video would still pop even if your girl wasn't with me. I've never truly got on board with modern wrestling. I've honestly found it hard since the entire product shifted entirely from entertainment to athleticism. I'm aware I'm a bit out of touch, but I am willing to change. And I've got to start giving these things a fair shot, because I have free tickets to AEW in London, and I'll be doing an additional video as a weekly review series leading up to that show. And the whole aim of that is for the Hawk to get into the mood for that show. But today isn't AEW, it's Ring of the Hawk, the show where we watch back a wrestler's short run with a company. 30 or less matches to see if they're capable of doing the JOB to the HAWK. Today's video was also a double Patreon request from Dominic Harton and also WWE SVR Fan 215. If you want to make the Hawk talk, sign up today. And of course, if you know a wrestler who could do the JOB to the HAWK any night, any day, ha ha! Shove their name in the comments, Jack! Okay, it's Gunther. Will he make the Hawks feather stir? Gunther dominated NXT for a while, and he held the belt there for a very long time. But he wrestled under the name Walter there for the first 3 years, wrestling for NXT UK. I'm personally glad he changed that name because Walter sounds like the name of a constipated old man. And honestly, I just don't understand how anyone has time to watch so many wrestling shows. Anyway, he had the occasional call up to Raw for one-off appearances. After 3 years, he moved on to the main NXT show, which will be the focus of today's video. Gunther is meant to be one of the best wrestlers in the world today. Even his Wikipedia page states that. Dave Meltzer also has a massive hard-on for him and gives him countless 5-star match ratings. In fact, he has the most in history, so he's better than Shawn Michaels, better than Bret Hart and better than The Undertaker. So he has to be really damn good, right? Before we start this video, I know Gunther has a lot of fans, and this video might make some of you angry. No offence. The Hawk isn't known for sugarcoating. I grade what I see in front of me. But I'd love you all to comment what makes Gunther such a special talent. But for a time during this run on this video, I was a very, very angry Hawk. Match 1, 6-man tag. Gunther with the Imperium tag team are just shoved in the ring without an entrance. Not a good start. And they take on MSK and Matt Riddle. Gunther and his team look like triplets. He doesn't start the match anyway. One of Gunther's other partners called Ica looks like a combination of the Master of the Cab Driver Slam and Eric Young. Very generic. The crowd are bored and there's dueling chants of "We want Riddle, we want Gunther." The crowd get their wish. Riddle frantically smacks and kicks him to no effect and Gunther flattens him with one chop. That's literally it and he tags out. The match breaks down and Gunther has to save his team. Big shoulder block on Wesley and he kicks the other guy off the apron. When he turns around, Wesley kicks him and tries to dive on him. Gunther catches him and stacks him on the top rope. He holds him still so his partner can dropkick Wesley. Then the three triplets stand to attention. We come back from an advert break with a double down. Gunther gets the tag and he stops the other tag from being made. Nash Carter desperately chops at him as Gunther's whole body shakes like jelly. He almost makes the tag but his partners are pulled off the apron. Gunther kicks him in the face and almost finishes him off with an ass drop. It's just a 2. Gunther tries a powerbomb now but Nash Carter turns it into a hurricanrana and Matt Riddle has the tag. After a bit of effort, Riddle manages to throw him overhead with a suplex. Riddle hits a weak kick to the head but misses his standing moonsault. He does however land his back senton. Riddle gets distracted by the other triplets which allows Gunther to almost hit a German. Riddle lands on his feet, sort of, and knees Gunther in the jaw. The match spills out the ring where MSK and Riddle hit a triple dive. Back in the ring, Riddle very almost pins Gunther with a bridging German suplex. Riddle looks for a final move to put Gunther away but he gets distracted and Gunther drop kicks him across the ring. Now it's a big powerbomb from Gunther which he apparently calls Imperium. It's just a powerbomb. It's also just a 2. Gunther tags out because he can't get the JOB done. Riddle takes them all out and he Germans Gunther. He eventually wins the match with the RKO. A horrible NXT debut from Gunther. He did pretty much nothing except boss his team around. And his wise advice led to a team loss. Based on this performance I saw nothing, but this match wasn't exactly about him, so I'm going to give him a D and move on to something better which might represent him more. We get a promo from our 3 guys next. Don't think they can speak English. It's mostly all subtitles. This isn't going well. Looks like we're going to have to rely on his wrestling ability then if we're going to get a pass on Ring of the Hawk this time. A turtleneck jumper. Someone smack this guy one. Match 2. Gunther. Wait, why doesn't he get an entrance again? He takes on Roderick Strong, accompanied by an angry little man. Hopefully this match is going to showcase Gunther better. Gunther's built like a young Vladimir Kozlov. We start with a big throw from Gunther. Strong dumps in his nappy of fear. Gunther tries to pick Strong's leg, but he can't do it and it looks a bit awkward. He moves on to the arm instead and takes Strong down with an arm wringer. Strong manages to fight back to his feet, but his chop is blocked and he feels his nappy of fear once again. The commentary team are questioning whether Gunther is the weak link in the Imperium faction. This just isn't starting well at all. Roderick Strong delivers a decent chop, but Gunther floors him with one of his own. That gets a Holy Hawk chant from the crowd. Big face twister from Gunther now. The crowd start the most unwarranted "this is awesome" chant of all time. Literally nothing's happened. Strong tries another fight back, but eats a boot to the jaw. Gunther starts attacking the geek at ringside, which allows Strong to mount some offense. He drop kicks Gunther out the ring and tries to dive, but he's caught. Gunther drops into his feet, but picks him back up and drops him off the apron. Very much an anticlimax for that one. We come back from an advert break and Roderick Strong connects with a middle rope dropkick. Strong isn't strong enough to pick up Gunther, and he's put in a sleeper hold. That seems like a bit of a strange move choice when Gunther already has such a size advantage. Anyway, Roderick Strong fights it off and he starts running and lightly punching Gunther in the head over and over again. Eventually Gunther gets bored and he clotheslines Strong down. They fight on the top rope and Strong is able to kick him in the side of the head. Roderick Strong manages to capitalise and nails a superplex. It's not over though. Strikes are exchanged with both guys looking half dead. Strong starts doing the running strikes again. Eventually does a running dropkick to knock Gunther down for a 2 count. Gunther can't hit the powerbomb, Strong can't hit the suplex. Gunther stacks him up on his back and crashes down. He quickly follows that move up with a powerbomb. That's the 3. I really don't know what to say. I can't deny that Gunther's strikes look intense, but I'm just not seeing anything. He has a huge size advantage, but he just isn't really using it. Surely he should be overpowering these guys. Gunther has the mic and says the winner of the match is Gunther. This short promo is basically what changed his name from Walter to Gunther. The crowd are a mixture of boos and silence. Then there's a big fight and nobody cares. I think a C is fair. I'm still waiting to see what the big deal is here. Match 3, 6-man tag. Imperium. Gunther. Barrel. Well, at least they get an entrance. They're all pretty much emotionless though, so it's a waste of time. And they take on the Diamonds in the Turd. Brutus Creed, Julius Creed and Roderick Strong. Gunther doesn't let them finish their entrance and kicks Strong in the face. The Creed brothers are like modern day Steiners, but with much squarer heads. One of them looks like a tin of dog food. As you may have guessed, Gunther doesn't start the match. Gunther finally gets the tag against Julius Creed. Gunther keeps smashing him down with chops. He hits one scoop and a slam and a stomp and tags out. It all goes wrong from Imperium when Roderick Strong gets the tag and he runs wild for a bit before running into a Gunther clothesline. Later in the match, Gunther breaks up a pin with a chop and now he gets the tag. He faces off with Roderick Strong and they exchange chops and strikes. Strong tries to knee him in the head and there's a bit of a clunky moment. Roderick Strong goes running now and hits a single-legged dropkick. The Creed brothers start double-teaming Gunther, who fights them off. Match is completely broken down at this point. Brutus runs into the ring, but he runs straight into a sleeper. He manages to fight it off. They start smashing into each other like morons until a big chop knocks Creed down. Gunther picks him up and wins the powerbomb. I'm still just not getting it. I'm holding out here, but what am I supposed to be seeing here? It's a D. Match 4. Singles match. Solo don't look at his ass Sakura versus Gunther, who doesn't get an entrance. Now we're talking. This is a matchup the Hawk can get behind and I should be able to find some enjoyment in. Gunther has the upper hand with some simple knockdowns. He throws some chops in the corner, but arguing with the referee distracts him. Sakura starts a comeback, but Gunther flattens him with one simple chop and he twists his neck off. A scoop slam follows. There really isn't anything much happening. Sakura can't manage a thing as Gunther hits a big boot. Gunther keeps the side headlock on for ages now. Sakura once again fights out of it but runs into a medium boot. It doesn't knock him down, but the clothesline does. That's just a 1 count for Gunther. New move for the Austrian now. He puts on a Boston Crab. Sakura makes the ropes. Sakura starts hawking up, but nothing seems to hurt Gunther. Finally, Sakura scores a knockdown with a spinning heel kick. Lots of reversals now, ending with Sakura hitting a Samoan drop, which I was totally okay with. Gunther heads out the ring and Sakura splashes him off the apron. He gets him back in the ring and hits a super kick for a 2 count. Sakura decides to go high risk, but the splash completely misses the target. Gunther puts him in a sleep hold straight away. Sakura stunners him off, but Gunther quickly chops him in the back and puts him back in the hold. Then Gunther has a change of heart and decides not to bother, and instead he hits a powerbomb. No cover is made, and instead he powerbombs Sakura again. Gunther makes the cover for the 3 to end Sakura's undefeated streak. Best match so far, but I feel like that was down to Sakura. Gunther just stands there looking like a constipated crab. It's a C. Match 5, singles match. Gunther with Imperium versus Duke Hudson with the Persian Parasite, and he doesn't get an entrance. It's essentially a squash match, which is more even than a squash match should ever be. Gunther does hit this one chop though that makes the audience fly out of their seats and wince in pain. Duke Hudson almost wins with a German suplex. He's shut down with a short arm clothesline and Gunther wins with the powerbomb. So basically, Gunther's wrestling skill is that he hurts people for real with chops. I thought the most skilled wrestlers were the ones who could emulate a real fight without actually hurting their opponents. With that mentality, the Hawk could probably get over for real nowadays by smashing people in the face with a brick. Gunther has a promo exchange with LA Knight after the match. Gunther says Knight represents everything that is wrong with wrestling today. What? Because he's actually entertaining? Knight makes fun of him for being ugly and having a square head and a dad bod. The three friends beat up LA Knight and MSK make the save. The whole thing is a D. There's nothing here to say Gunther has star potential. Match 6, 6-man tag. Imperium versus LA Knight and MSK, which starts with a brawl on the ramp. Gunther and Knight fight in the crowd, but Knight immediately clotheslines him away. 5 minutes pass, and Gunther has still done nothing. This has to be one of the most disappointing runs of all time. Finally, Gunther does get the tag in against Knight. Gunther throws a chop which just about grazes Knight, and you can tell from the way he grits his teeth that it annoys him. He throws another chop and a couple of stomps and tags out. This is just appalling. I don't understand why people love this guy so much. I'm not being fussy. I'm not asking him to do flips. He literally does nothing but chops. His whole moveset is deliberately hurting other wrestlers to get a response from the fans. Gunther stops Wes Lee from hitting a dive with a big knee to the head. At least it wasn't a chop. Gunther's back is covered in grease and acne. It leads me to believe that he was on the juice in order to shed the fat that Vince McMahon asked him to lose before making his main roster debut. Although someone's going to have to do a before and after back comparison, and the Hawk draws a line at back comparisons unless it's your girl and her friend. Knight and Gunther brawl away from the ring. The Imperium boys win with a clothesline. It's an S. I'm sorry, but I'm done. I would rather watch Vladimir Kozlov. I'd rather watch fucking Bastian Booger. This run sucks Sonny Siaki's ass. There's nothing to enjoy here. The Hawk has never felt so let down. No entertainment to be found here whatsoever. But there isn't much left. And I don't want to let down the people who requested it on Patreon. Tough times make tough men. Tough Hawks. Match 7. NXT Stand and Deliver 2022. Ring General Gunther versus LA Knight. We start with a lockout, which seems to be pretty even. Gunther delivers a bad temper chop which wakes up LA Knight. He batters Gunther in the corner and stomps a mud hole in him. Gunther bails from the ring, but he can't hide there, and Knight does a diving clothesline off the apron. Gunther shunts him into the apron and picks him up and powerbombs him onto the apron. The best move of the video so far. Back in the ring now, we go back to the brawling. This seems to fire up LA Knight, but he can't manage anything. Gunther makes a mistake and Knight does a net breaker. Gunther no-sells that and flattens him with a big boot. We get a Boston crab from Gunther now. It doesn't work, so Gunther transitions into an STF. He only holds it for a few seconds as Knight fights back off the hold. The comeback is on and Knight bat body drops him. Actually, maybe not. Gunther floors him with a chop. Once again, Knight tries to fight back as he reverses a suplex and hits one of his own for a double down. Back on his feet, Knight flies into the ring with a diving shoulder block and the crowd has started to wake up. Knight stomps on him with comically fast camera cuts. He punctuates Gunther's square head with a running knee. LA Knight hits him with a big slam and a big elbow. He attempts to finish him off with a superplex, but he's chopped away. LA Knight refuses to take no for an answer, runs back up there and hits the superplex anyway for a 2 count. Back on their feet, we get a strike exchange. Gunther hits him with some chops and aggressively applies a sleeper hold. Knight manages to lift Gunther onto his shoulders and hits a reverse Death Valley driver. Somehow that is just a 2 count. LA Knight wants to do a moonsault for some reason, but he's caught on the top rope. Gunther chops him and clotheslines him back into the ring. Nice. Gunther nails a diving splash and a powerbomb ends the match. By far the best match so far. I actually enjoyed this one. Maybe I'm starting to get it after all. This one is a B from the Hawk. I just wish he could dominate his opponents a bit more, but we did see some decent spells of dominance in this one. Next up, Gunther and his little crew of goons issue a challenge to the NXT champion Bron Breakker. Gunther's promos still suck though. In fact, I'd say they're laughably bad. Bron Breakker seems to think so. Match 8, final match. Great. Just when I think I was starting to get it. Oh well. NXT Championship. The challenger Gunther, who doesn't get an entrance, versus the champion Bron Breakker, the son of Rick Steiner. Breakker isn't doing a roid rage gimmick yet, and he doesn't have the power or mass to control Gunther. He gets his face booted off. Gunther tries to keep going for leapfrog, but he's caught by Steiner and slammed. Breaker barks with happiness at the crowd. Big spear from Breaker now. Bron Breaker frees the nipple and tries to press slam Gunther, but as established, he isn't doing a Roid Rage gimmick yet and he can't lift him up. Gunther smashes him out the ring for chop. Steiner is sent into the ring steps as we go to an advert break. We come back with Gunther hitting a headbutt to the back. He starts throwing chops with Bron Breaker having a glazed look on his face. Big release German suplex from Gunther which Steiner no-sells and he throws him back for German of his own. Nice clothesline from Breaker now for the double down. Gunther tries to work on his arm but he's thrown away. Breaker connects with a nice overhead belly to belly suplex. Breaker can't capitalise though and he runs straight into a dropkick. Gunther nails the powerbomb but that's just a 2 count. Gunther now connects with the top rope splash but yet again Bron Breaker kicks out. That's followed with the third 2 count in a row off a clothesline. Breaker just won't stay down. Gunther decides to try another splash when out of nowhere Breaker spears him out of mid-air. For some reason that isn't the finish of the match. The two guys start exchanging chops. Gunther puts on a sleeper but the jawbreaker gets him away. Steiner line from Breaker. He picks Gunther up into a gorilla press slam and that, my little friends, is the 3 for game over. Nice one, enjoyed that one too. It's clear to see that Sakura, LA Knight and Breaker are the guys from this generation of NXT wrestlers that we need to look out for. I still didn't see that much from Gunther here, but all the moves were crisp and pulled off well and it led to an enjoyable hard-hitting match. And maybe that's what Gunther is all about. He needs to face guys who can take it just as much as he gives it. The final match is another B, very enjoyable. After this, Gunther was called up to the main roster where he quickly won the IC title and still holds it to this day. It's almost a year to the day that he won it, so happy anniversary. How's that for a punch to the gut? So that's a rarity on Ring of the Hawk. The run started to improve at the end. It's usually the reverse. I think I partially get it now. It's like watching a real fight when you watch Gunther. Probably because those chops really are tearing guys up. You're watching for an old school type of wrestling that doesn't have any frills. And with the right opponent, it works. But with the wrong one, it creates the most boring matches of all time. I still don't think he's as big of a star as people like to make out. His promos suck and he looks like a 50-year-old man. He's actually only 35. Man fell out of the ugly tree and hit every branch on the way down. Alright, enough talking. We've got to shove Gunther a final grade for Ring of the Hawk Season 4. And I think a final grade of a C is fair. He struggled to stand out in multi-man matches, but in singles ones he mostly put on a good show. I do think his lack of compelling opponents in the early going harmed him. I still stand by what I say though, he's alright, but he ain't great, and if you don't agree with that, I'll chop you so hard that I knock off your lard.